Hello and welcome to our Corporate Governance and Sustainability Talk podcast. We are coming to you from the Rami Makhzoumi Corporate Governance Initiative at the Suliman Olayan Business School at the American University of Beirut, where we discuss and unpack the environmental, social, and governance narrative and discuss how business and society can come together, advancing responsible leadership across the MENA region for governance excellence and corporate sustainability. I have with me today Rania Mardini, a faculty member at the Suliman Olayan Business School. I also know you have many other titles, so if you would be kind to give us a little background, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nada. So a bit about myself. I'm an international accountancy and public financial management specialist. Over the past 20 years, I've worked in the areas of accountancy, financial control, governance, anti-corruption, from both a public sector and a private sector perspective. Today, besides being a senior lecturer here, I'm also a public financial management expert working with the Regional Bureau of Arab States of the United Nations Development Program. And as you said, I've also been recently appointed to the IESBA. As you mentioned, so sustainability today is front of mind for the entire reporting ecosystem, right. And so it is front of mind for IESBA. Recently, they set up the sustainability working group, and I just joined.
I saw this was back in December.
True. And
they're trying to set some standards for ethical and assured reporting globally, because we know that there's a lot of fragmentation with the reports. What can you share with us and tell us a little bit more, if you can explain actually the ecosystem for sustainability reporting? We know that sustainability reporting has existed before. ESG is a new framework for reporting that has come into the landscape. And if you can tell us who are the ecosystem players and how does IESBA play into that?
True. So ESG reporting is certainly increasing. There's a recent report that was issued or prepared by IFAC and the AICPA and CIMA, which indicates that 95% of large companies were reporting on ESG in 2021, up from 91% in 2019. However, the report also suggests that 86% of companies are using multiple standards and frameworks.
So like the GRI, for example, which is the Global Reporting Initiative,
true.
And the SASB,
true,
which is the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board.
These are examples of different frameworks and standards. Okay. Exactly. So one key takeaway is that the reporting standards and frameworks are very fragmented, and so and this diminishes the value of the use of the reported information. Why? Because investors need information that has been prepared consistently so that it is comparable, because they need to be able to compare basically different potential ESG investments, and so they need to compare the information, and so that sort of defeats the purpose, you know. So the idea, there has been a push globally towards more consolidation, and to that effect the IFRS Foundation established, if I remember correctly, November 2021, something called the International Sustainability Standards Board, or the IESBA.
Okay.
So the IESBA will be developing high quality sustainability reporting requirements. All right, and then so that's one key player within that ecosystem that you mentioned. But then there's also what investors need or users of the information need is assurance on that information. So because they need to trust that information, because otherwise there is information risk. Okay, so that's where you have sustainability assurance, and that's where the IAASB, or the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, is working to develop sustainability-related assurance standards. And then there's the IESBA. That's where the IESBA comes in order to support that infrastructure, to develop high-quality ethics and independence standards that support the production, the reporting, and the assurance governance.
Okay,
Yeah,
three
there
entities.
are 3 key players. They're not the only ones, but they are
the three.
the 3.
How do you think a board with an ESG mindset, with an environmental social governance mindset, can affect the financial performance and stability of a business?
Definitely developing ESG information and reporting on ESG information will come at a cost in the short run. But over the long run, definitely benefits are expected to be reaped. And the expectation is that ESG practices will have a positive yield on the financial performance of the organization. And I can give you several examples. For instance, an ESG conscious organization will be conscious of safety and health measures, will be conscious of to be inclusive in its hiring practices. It will care about the welfare of its employees. It will care about the welfare of its community. So these are the types of about the impact that it has on its environment, on the country, on how it uses its resources, etc., on its climate impact, and so on and so forth. And therefore, such an organization is likely to increase their productivity, and that will reflect on its profitability. There are reputational benefits to be reaped because its practices align with consumers. Today, there is something called ethical consumerism. Consumers, clients are going to be looking
they're becoming more ESG
exactly, and they
right?
want to buy and work with companies that align with them in terms of values and morals.
Right.
And so this also that has reputational benefits, and if they can demonstrate that they are actually conducting, they are actually true to those practices, true to those ESG targets, if you will, and they can, and this means that they are more conscious of all the environmental, social, and governance risks. They will be factoring them in as they move forward, as they put their targets. They are setting ESG targets, and they are moving towards them, and they are managing all the risks that can, come between them and those targets, which means that they are, as an organization, they are likely to be more sustainable.
True.
This will increase their access to finance. This will increase their access to finance, and they will access to finance and at a lower cost. And ultimately, over the long run, this will definitely reap financial benefits and financial performance. So if you think of profitability over the long haul, then definitely ESG practices and profitability are aligned.
So we can say that purpose and profit can move forward together.
Definitely, if you are keeping a long-term perspective.
Right.
Yes. Exactly.
And I think this is more of a recent, more compared to old school, is more of a recent soundboard, is to have purpose and profit move together. True. And not just profit at the expense of a social or an environment factor. The environment and the social governance, I always say the reporting part of it is nascent, but ESG in terms of, as the acronym, is not very new. But the framework now, I think, and with climate change, it has risen to the top of the global agenda. And so people are recognizing the importance, like you said, and especially with regards to investors. And like you said, it enhances the funding, the potential for funding and what have you, because everybody's kind of aligning with those values today.
If you think about it, environmental, social, and governance concerns have always been there. The thing is that now people, the market, standard setters, they are demanding them more explicitly. True. So, when the corporate form of business came into being, of course, the idea was that the corporation's objective is, or the private sector's objective is to generate profits. And this is still the case.
Correct.
But nobody ever told corporations to generate profits at the expense of climate, or at the expense of their community, or at the expense of, for example, using corrupt practices or whatever. Nobody ever told. It was, if you will, it was implicit, sort of implicit.
And it's a mindset to adopt. And I think that the pandemic accelerated this.
Today, the world is moving more towards, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And so the idea is you have to, if you want to be able to really, if you want to claim that you are an ESG or a climate conscious company or a socially conscious company, or then you have to be able to demonstrate it, and to demonstrate it you have to measure it, and you have to set targets, and you have to demonstrate 100%. That you are moving towards them. So this is it was always been there, but now it's there in clearer, it's being clarified. Of course, this is a landscape.
Defined. What would you say, Rania, are the challenges and the opportunities in ESG reporting that are ahead of us today?
I think perhaps at this point, I mean, there are challenges definitely at multiple levels. From the reporting entity's perspective, one of the main challenges perhaps is to develop the ESG required, internal reporting, because environmental, social, and governance metrics have not traditionally been part of our core business data as companies. And so you really have to invest in, building that sort of information into your information systems within the company. So, and making sure that it is produced in a timely manner and accurately, so that, because this is really the foundation for accurate reporting.
Right. So here we are trying, in a way, and correct me if I'm wrong, like there's always been challenges in reporting. It's always being fine-tuned. There's always lessons learned. And then enter ESG, which kind of, added another complex dimension to the reporting.
Exactly. It's very true, because even if you look at standards and, the financial reporting ecosystem, or the financial reporting, which are definitely very much, intertwined, especially today, because ESG has, financial implications. But the point is, even financial reporting standards and auditing standards have been really, evolving all the time. They never stopped evolving. And now add to that new requirements, completely different type of information,
and non-financial is what they refer to it as.
Yeah. And
so how is this non-financial becoming? How will it tie into a financial statement? From an accountant perspective?
Yeah, from an accountant perspective. Now, one very important point is that, typically the accountants, if you think about it, the accountants typically, they are holding the pen usually, Traditionally, they have held the pen when it comes to generating information about an organization, even the financial statements. And today, with ESG, I'm anticipating a very significant role in terms of, producing and, reporting on that information. So accountants definitely have a very important role. But the fact of the matter is that they are not subject matter experts. And so, you asked me earlier about the challenges, and I will tell you that ESG is a very interdisciplinary area.
True.
And you talk about risks in general. We talk about ESG information. It's just a small acronym, but you think about all the types of information that are really integrated, or that this term
supply chain of sustainability information, and
it's huge. So the question is, what information should you be measuring and reporting on, and how to develop the expertise? Accountants should have a role in the sense that, as I said, they're sort of holding the pen.
I guess that's going to be the role of IESBA as well, partially, and
definitely in all the ethical considerations and risks. When it comes to the production, the reporting, and the.
What would you say is the role of the big four consulting firms here, the accounting consulting firms? Are they going to probably be also? I'm assuming they're working also with IESBA and will adopt these standards that come out, right?
So when you talk about the big four accounting firms, they are certainly part of the accounting profession.
They're going to be leading the organization most likely. How does an organization start? Where do they start from?
That's exactly the point. They're probably going to need, that's exactly what I said, that's the major challenge, how to develop that information, first of all, within your information systems at the company. And so you're probably going to need to bring in experts. So this is where consulting companies come in. This is where accounting firms come in.
Sustainability experts,
sustainability experts, exactly. The very important, talk about challenges. The idea is that to make sure that everybody is able to speak the the same language.
Right,
They're
right.
not all going to be experts on
Right,
everything. That's
right,
why, I mean,
right.
it is very interdisciplinary, and you're going to
Right.
need subject matter experts in different areas.
Right.
But they need to have sufficient knowledge. So accountants need to be conversant in, you
Right,
know, in
right.
issues of climate,
Right.
social issues, etc. And the reverse is true. Sustainability experts also have to have some, you know,
Right.
I mean, they have to have an understanding, a good
Right.
grasp of reporting requirements, so
Right.
that they can, you know, come together and generate information that is, and report on it in a manner that is accurate and properly reflects the business reality
Right.
of the organization.
Rania, you and I have talked about this before, you know, the role of academia in pushing the ESG discussion forward. And some people are you know, realizing and understanding more the importance of it. It is, like we said, a nascent topic, especially in this region, in our region in the MENA. How important do you think academia is in pushing this conversation forward?
I think academia has an extremely significant role to play in the sense that academia, whether be it at the undergraduate, the graduate, or the executive, you know, education level, this is where minds are shaped.
Correct.
And so ESG is a mindset, really.
True.
It is important that, our graduates leave the university with this, you know, responsible attitude. It cannot be a checklist approach. It has
True.
to be, you know, you have to be all in. And to be all in, you really have to understand it, understand what it takes, understand what it means, understand that, you know, be a socially and environmentally responsible human being.
Correct.
And you know, develop that sense of you know, responsibility towards your community and the people around you.
Correct.
And so this is something that does not, you know, it does not come overnight. It does not develop overnight. This is
Correct.
something that is, you know,
It's a culture.
It's a culture.
It's a culture.
And that's why academia is the perfect place
right.
for us to, you know, to nurture
to graduate,
that
to nurture and to
culture.
graduate such leaders and
Exactly.
citizens. And because
Exactly.
also I think in the private and the public sector also there's more and more demand on being conscientious
exactly.
of these, you know, of this knowledge and this narrative and these skills that come with it. Rania, thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for
It was a
engaging with
pleasure.
us. And let's keep the conversation going.